Hey everybody, Star 6 Wars 1 here, and welcome to the fourth movie of FMA month. For this one, we are taking a look at the review for the Conqueror of Shamballa Fullmetal Alchemist movie. Now, this movie was released sometime after the first series was concluded. I think around a year or two. I'm not exactly sure the time frame it was released, but the movie was released a little later. My opinions of it we'll get into later, but first, let's just start off with the story. The story of Conqueror of Shamballa takes place about, I think, 2 or 3 years after the original series' ending, which is pretty good. And this one serves story-wise as an epilogue to the 2003 series. Now, the question is it a good story? I thought so. I thought putting Ed and Al in different spots was actually a really good idea, and it showed the real development and the grief they both went through and how they were trying to solve it and solve their loneliness from each other. So I do think the story did well. I'll get into a problem it had though a little later when I talk about some of its negative aspects. But overall, I didn't think the story was really all that bad, and I actually liked it. Next up, the characters. Simply put, they are still Fullmetal Alchemist greatness. Ed still feels like Ed. Al still feels like Al. Armstrong feels like Armstrong. Once Roy really gets over his whole I'm depressed thing, he gets back to being the Roy we all know and love. And Winry's back to being Winry. And the new characters, not all of them interesting, and I hate to say it, do not either get enough screen time to really become interesting, or are just kind of unlikable assholes. And I'm not going to give away any spoilers as to who they are, though, sorry. But they're alternate counterparts to other characters. So once again, nothing I can really judge on. I think the characters are still pretty good, though. Step down, I guess, from the 2003 series because of the alternate world people, but even I can't judge against that. It's still the Fullmetal Alchemist greatness there. The animation is, I think, I can't tell if it's upgraded from the 2003 series or a bit downgraded. But if I had to guess, I think it's upgraded. I like the coloring tone between Earth and Amestris. The Earth one looks more dark and damp, representing Ed's sadness and longing to return home, while Amestris is shown as beautiful and so very heaven-like, the place he wants to return to. It's full of color. That's something nice I found about the animation. And just something little I noticed. And also I noticed when Ed does finally return, Amestris also goes gray as well. And once he is, spoiler alert, once he's forced to return to Earth, the gray disappears from Amestris and becomes colorful again. But you could get into a whole different topic about that. But overall, the animation's really good. Still, once again, Fullmetal Alchemist greatness. The music. It's not as good as the series. I don't think I'm giving anything away when I say that. It's not as good as the series, and unfortunately does not have as memorable a track from either Brotherhood or the 2003 series. And I'll compare it to the other movie later. Yeah, we'll get to that later. Overall, though, I don't think the music was bad, and one or two unique tracks from it do work. It's just, it could have been a lot better, in my opinion. So I praise the story a little bit. I praise the characters. I praise the animation, and I give a compliment to the music. Why does this movie not rank among the best of Fullmetal Alchemist? Simply because of its ending. I won't give away spoilers to its ending, well, besides the fact that Ed has to return to the Earth setting. But the ending to me feels very hollow and incomplete. To point it out in this regard, at the very start of the movie, they established this whole little plot thing that comes back later and is never resolved. And I would have really liked that resolved, guys. Also, the ending felt a little rushed. You could have maybe put in like 10 more minutes to at least explain a few more things like, oh, I don't know, how to close the gate. So the ending is empty, is hollow, rushed, and incomplete. And for Fullmetal Alchemist, my god, that's an insult. Worst ending of the Fullmetal Alchemist franchise. The one thing I'll give Sacred Star of Milos, it did have a better ending, because at least it felt complete and wasn't rushed. Conqueror of Shamballa, you could have learned something from this. Overall, while the ending does really hinder it, especially since this is supposed to be an epilogue to Fullmetal Alchemist, the 2003 series, which unfortunately makes sure that its story shoots itself in the foot. Because of that, I will say it's definitely still worth a watch. Just be forewarned. The ending isn't the best, and I can see why people do not like this one. I like it personally, but I can see why people don't. So I do recommend this one, but with a hint of caution. Just note you may not like this, but at least watch it once if you want to see the epilogue to the 2003 series. I give Fullmetal Alchemist Conqueror of Shamballa an 8.5 out of 10. Again, if it wasn't for the ending, I think this would have been a great movie. The problem is solely its ending, which betrays pretty much the entire film. And the rest of the film, though, is worth the watch. It's just watch out for the ending. Anyways, that's all from me. This has been Star 6 Wars 1, and I will see you for a recommendation that was made back in my FMA update. A comparison of the two major villains of the series, Dante versus Father. See you guys then.